Automation Hero is a global company, so I'll say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining from. Appreciate you being here with us for this morning, for today's webinar, Accelerating ROI with Intelligent Document Processing. A few housekeeping notes. Well, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Nicholas Peddle. I'm the Director of Demand Gen here on the marketing team at Automation Hero. I'm joined by Mark Stripp, who's the Regional Vice President of Sales for the EMEA region, and Nico Martinez, who is Solutions Engineer. A couple housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, and we will send out a recording of the video by email. So if you have to drop, we understand, but we will send out the recording after. Also, we'll be fielding Q&A through the Q&A function on the Zoom menu at the bottom. There's the Q&A. Go ahead and type in your questions there throughout the event. We will get to them at the end. We'll do all Q&A at the end. But if you have questions throughout, type them in so that way you don't forget it, and we will answer them at the end. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark for the first part of the presentation, and then Nico will actually showcase and give us a demo. So thank you, Mark. I'll now turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you everyone else for their time. I really appreciate it. How long do I have, Nick? About sort of 10, 15 minutes, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, keep me honest. Okay, so why do we claim to be accelerating ROI with IDP through Automation Hero? Well, the simplest way to put it is we're the smartest way to process your documents. What do we mean by that statement? So we have powerful best-in-class AI capabilities. We're the easiest to use in terms of the self-service capabilities we brought to the market. Think of it in terms of if Tesla is to self-driving cars, we are to self-driving processes. And we also offer the most scalable technologies as well through our modern architecture that we've purpose-built for the modern client needs out there. So we're combining best-in-class AI with best-in-class execution and bringing those together to enable better outcomes for our customers and ultimately actually accelerate their journey towards hyper-automation as well. Why do we claim that? Well, just a bit of a history lesson, if you like, in terms of who we are and where we come from, and that why we're able to make those kind of statements. Our founder was one of the original contributors to Hadoop in the big data world. In fact, founded a company, Datamere, which is a massive player in big data in the financial services industry. And what was big data led to AI, and what was insights led to automation, hence the birth of Automation Hero. And what's really important here is the nucleus of that data science team that achieved so much success there formed Automation Hero. And we've got this approach where we built AI first, or an AI first approach, I should say, and built the automations around that. And what that means is it gives us the ability to apply deep learning techniques and capabilities to solve problems that a lot of the incumbent solutions today just simply can't do. They're desperately trying to re-architect or acquire or strategic alliances just to try and even get close to the kind of capabilities that we can achieve. So investors, experts, and companies recognize the challenge today and have also recognized the value that we bring. So, for example, we've raised 50 million in the latest round out there in the marketplace. Gartner has nominated us, has named us as a cool vendor, and we're seeing a number of brands come on board with the journey that we're doing for them as well, such as Allianz and so on. So that's about us and what is that challenge out there. So you know, there is huge amounts of data out there. I don't think that is unknown to anyone out there. And also the majority of it, upwards of 80% of that data out there is unstructured in the format of emails, PDFs, photos, handwritten documents, etc. Typically, customers have struggled for a while to basically tap into that unstructured data. It's been too complex to actually try and to extract the metadata, the insights, the real value that's locked in there, and actually do something with that, being able to extract those insights to enable those better outcomes. Typically, it involves multiple solutions to try and get anywhere close to pulling all that information together. And even with RPA alone, Gartner says for every $1 spent on RPA, $7 to $9 is spent on integration. So, you know, typically we see RPA vendors out there looking to try and work out how they can make their go-to-market smarter, going to mature in terms of intelligent document processing. Our OCR vendors out there are just that. They simply do OCR without any of the natural language processing capabilities, the fuzzy matching, all the advanced techniques that are out there, or even have some point solutions out there that can try and extract the information, but they don't have the execution capabilities to do something with that. So in an ideal world, we'd have the ability to utilize, or customers would have the ability to utilize one platform, a platform that could process any type of document, be it in structured, semi-structured, or unstructured formats, to be able to extract complex information out of complex documents. And then they would be able to utilize the knowledge workers, the human capital out there in terms of exception handling capabilities, or even just providing them with the ability to make better decisions faster, and then take those insights and actually be able to execute it across end-to-end processes by being able to integrate to the larger ecosystem through modern API capabilities and kick off automation orchestration workflows to deliver those outcomes as well. And ideally, even you'd have a platform that would then look at those flows and look at the insights in terms of where there are continuous improvement and continuous automation opportunities. And that's really the platform that we brought out. And it's through intelligent document processing, we can deliver outcomes a lot faster to untap that value that's locked in unstructured data, but also through our execution engine, we can accelerate your path to hyper automation as well. So in summary, we have our unique AI first approach to understand complex information out of complex documents. We apply that to a best of breed execution platform. And through our ease of use for no code, low code capabilities, we're able to bring that together, AI and execution, that deliver better outcomes and better impacts for our customers. So what does that mean, really? So, in the financial and insurance services industry, for example, we've got insurance customers that see a huge variety in documents out there. There's a huge problem from example, handwritten documents from vets in pet claims, unstructured documentation from my favorite garage in terms of motor claims, lots of different structured formats within, say, auto windscreen and so on. They also have challenges scaling as they bring on more and more complexity in terms of additional claims, but also maybe acquiring companies that some of our customers have been doing. They then have the inability to extract all of that information into one area and then do something meaningful with it. And also has an impact in terms of returning shareholder value. So in terms of things like claims insurance, 60% of the cost of claims is tied up in processing alone. So an ability to make an impact there has huge results. Have I still got you there, Nick? My screen's just gone a bit funny. Are you there still, Nick?
Yeah, Mark, we're now showing the the preview of the current slide. The next slide, it's not full screen anymore.
Okay, let me just play that back again. How about now?
No sharing at all.
Oh, not sure what's happened. How about now? We back?
It's thinking about it. There we go. Yes.
Ah, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, I was just saying in terms of the impact there. So in terms of manufacturing, we've heard from some customers where they've got a high cost of sales, which constrains their ability to grow and grow fast, slow time to market in terms of responding to customer needs, by able to process lots of information and turn around quotes and project timelines in the time that they can go and win those projects, but also scale in terms of number of projects they want to take on. And they typically, manufacturing industry that the companies we've been speaking to have been using other vendors for some time and trying to mix them all, match them all together, and it's been expensive and unreliable. What other impacts are we hearing out there? So, for example, as well in the properties and facilities industry, we've got a customer who looks after a huge contract looking after the Deutsche Bahn in Germany. They've got a large amount of contracts that they have to go through. It's very manual. And typically they can only effectively process the top 5 to 10% of those documents accurately. And the remainder, there's a long tail that they don't really aren't able to tap into to negotiate effectively and leading to huge error and huge losses as well. So they've not been able to unlock those operational savings. So what do we offer? So again, taking all these different scenarios, these different industry requirements, different customer requirements out there, we're able to help them by the fact that we are able to offer these powerful extraction capabilities using our our strong AI capability foundation. We're able to then do something with that information with our flexible integrations using APIs, agile deployment for faster delivery, the human in the loop element that I mentioned before, and Nico will be showing you how that works in practice, both in terms of ease of use, but actually being able to turn that information around sooner to kick off a better orchestration to enable a better outcome, and all doing this through one platform. So that's what we're going to show you with Nico right now. But going back to some of that impacts that we made for those industries, in the financial insurance industry example we mentioned, we were able to see an immediate 85% adoption by the claims team. Right. What that meant was that they were able to streamline the execution across all multiple claims, and also they saw a 75% reduction in processing times, vastly improving the customer experience, and also being able to scale in terms of addressing a future use case. In this particular case, they're requiring more companies, so that was an important part of their target architecture. And also ultimately being able to demonstrate the reduction in the processing costs, it has an impact on the company's KPIs, which ultimately leads to their valuation as well. In the manufacturing space, they were able to respond to RFQs in a matter of hours instead of days. In fact, we're getting that down all the time as well, but it's difference between 5 days and 2 hours. The cost savings allow them to reinvest in enhancing the customer experience as well, but also the operational efficiency improvements have basically equaled the ability to scale at the point of having, as if they were having additional 78 full-time employees. So therefore optimizing their cost of sale. And, they're now looking at how they can look at broader end-to-end use cases, which, is very easy to do because we've got one platform that allows you you've got all those components and you can just scale as you need to, different use case or in terms of size and volume as well. And when we look at that property facilities use case as well, they were able to unlock investments of up to 12 million a year from being able to renegotiate contracts that were coming up to contracts, negotiating SLAs or looking at economies of scale, from looking at all that unstructured data that was there to understand where they can negotiate and kicking off that information to the humans involved in procurement to do better negotiations. So that increased employee satisfaction, they're doing a better job, they're giving more savings back to their organization. And this is so powerful that the company itself is looking to accelerate into other use cases like customer contracts, to accelerate and improve the customer onboarding experience, and also looking at other opportunities where they can extract all this metadata, use it not just in processing the insights found in the documentation, but looking at it as a capability. What can they do to unlock new and future use cases of the insights that they can now gain? So anyway, that was just an introduction in terms of who we are, what we do, how we go about things, and the impact that can have to our customers. We're going to show you that now in terms of what Nico is about to bring to life for you. So Nico, over to you.
Thank you, sir. And let me also reiterate the request to Nick. Keep me honest on time. There is oh so much to that I can speak to. I'm going to intentionally, for purposes of context, keep it very high level. I'm very happy to go into much deeper dive on a technical detail or capabilities or extensions, but for purposes of this, I'm going to keep it really high level. So what we're looking at here is sort of the background of the Hero platform. So this is the interface where people who build, maintain, manage the automations interact with the system. And what I want to show today, relative to the story of the most intelligent way to process your documents to generating ROI quickly, are some of our self-service AI features related to pulling data out of documents. So we know documents can be highly complex, they can be structured, they can be non. How can we pull useful data out of it, put it into the hands of our end users quickly, so that they can make corrections, make dispositions, to facilitate sort of the acceleration of an ROI? How quickly can I get to value? So to that end, I'd actually today like to focus primarily on 3 of our self-service AI features related to document processing. Minor 15-second background on what we talk about when we mean documents. A document is anything that has content that we want to extract out of it. And they can come in many different flavors. From one extreme to the other, they could be highly structured. Think your government regulated forms. Things are always in the same place all the time. They can be the complete other end of the spectrum, where it's unstructured, where somebody writes an email, somebody puts a big block of text in a contract. And then there's right in the middle, semi-structured. A great example is an invoice. You get invoices or purchase orders from lots of vendors. They can look very different, but they all have similar data points within them, dollar amounts, line items, etc. And what I'd like to show now is how our self-service features can enable you to start drawing value out of those very quickly. So let's start with probably one of the more relatable ones, fixed form. So a template, a highly structured document. What we're looking at here, and this is to what Mark mentioned earlier, is our human in the loop interface. This is how we bring humans into the automation process. Things can work completely in the background, or you can make, for us, it's about empowering our users. Let's make them an integral part of the process and bring them in when it's most effective. So what I'm going to demonstrate here, and this is a highly configurable interface, is how I can review the extract of our AI features for fixed form, actually indeed for all of them. And then I'll walk you into the background and show you how we did it. So we'll start from results and we'll go to the how. So let's start with fixed form. So let's look at an example of, let's say, a highly structured medical form. Let me refresh that quickly. Okay, so it's going to be a little wonky on the odd, but we'll ignore that for the moment. So what we have here is a highly structured document. It's got checkboxes, it's got free text fields, it's handwritten. What we have in our human in the loop interface right now is this is an interface where we want a human to correct and validate that the extraction was correct before it goes to, say, a system of record, a database, a CRM, what have you. So in this case, and I've just chosen a snippet of the types of fields. I've chosen just a handful of them: mixed alphanumerics, free text, handwritten text, strictly numbers, checkboxes. There's a wide variety of what we can pull out of it. Now, a common question I get here is, where's the AI? Where's the interesting thing, as opposed to some of the other legacy players in the space who've been doing this a long time? And for me, for fixed form, I think it's twofold. One, it's our baked in, so you don't have to do any configuration thinking about it pre-processing. You'll notice that the image snippets of what the AI was looking at before it tried to OCR it, and note I can make changes if it's incorrect, but this was actually all right. It's oriented properly. In the original document, we can see it's at a wonky angle, and that's true of this multi-page document. Both of them are like that. Likewise, if I look at another example, this document is completely inverted. The second page is blank, and the third page is oriented normally. And it's also in much lighter pen. It's, again, handwriting, and it was, again, highly accurate. So the twofold features of where the AI is and how you can accelerate your value is, you no longer have to worry about, did somebody scan it at a weird angle? Or if they gave me a big package of, let's say, a mortgage document that contains 15 subdocuments, and they put things in a mishmash of an order, is that going to break everything? Absolutely not. Our AI features will identify the correct documents, correctly orient and align them and scale them to the related template, and get you the most accurate results possible. Now, I mentioned it was twofold. The other thing, or the other feature to sort of accelerate your value, is to improve your quality by making it more flexible with what we can pull out of it. So this is in the background how I set up the form. I set up a template. I'm drawing boxes around it, typical what you would see for an OCR solution. Where we differentiate is we have, and I'll just pick a field at random, we have the ability to select what type of data. We have proprietary AI-driven engines to extract the best type of value in terms of the quality of what we extract. So whether it be typed text, handwritten text, well, I believe we have a document out now that that compares us to a number of players in the space in terms of accuracy, numbers, checkboxes, barcodes, etc. So we're highly flexible in what we can pull out of this document. We have our own proprietary AI to make sure everything aligns properly, and to identify, even in things as diverse as handwriting. To Mark's point earlier, things with, say, veterinarians or doctors' offices where they have, stereotypical chicken scratch. Looking at another type of document, let's go to the middle. Let's go to semi-structured, something where it's like an invoice. And I've actually got some examples of invoices here. So they're not nearly as structured as as fixed form documents because they could look very different. Here, as I cycle through a couple, they look very different, but they have similar data points. They have customer information, they have PO numbers, they have line items. In this case, and this is another way to orient the human in the loop, this is another validation type of use case for the human in the loop. We've basically thrown this document at a pre-trained model, and it's trying to just pull out data, a bunch of fields in the header and the individual line items. We can see tables. I can make changes as needed. The beauty of this and the power of this, especially for accelerating ROI, is that this model is pre-trained. I've done nothing except point documents at it and say, give me results. And showing that in the background, here's again, the background screen. There is actually no configuration here. This is purely for demonstration and understanding purposes. I've sent a document. This is one I just found online. I've sent it into the system, and it will attempt to pull out as much of the data as it can identify. This column on the right over here is all of our pre-trained fields. Now, that said, small aside, I know we're talking about accelerating ROI and we want to make it as quick and actionable as possible. Does the story end here? Absolutely not. This is our starting point. Within the platform, and I won't get into it in this conversation, we can also extend this approach. If there are additional fields that aren't part of the standard list, we can extend the model to pull those out as well. If you have a semi-structured document that has nothing to do with invoices, we can leverage this same approach to pull the relevant data out. I had a use case with a manufacturing customer in Italy. So it was documents that had nothing to do with invoices, was in a language the model had never seen before, and we achieved 90+% accuracy, I think, on 54 documents just as a pure custom demo. So highly flexible there. One other add-on feature here to make the results even better. And again, we want to leverage what you have to make your results as powerful as possible. We can also bake in context awareness. So let's say we have a field like vendor address. You have a list of known vendors. You have a database somewhere with a list of known vendor addresses. As part of the processing of this, we can incorporate that knowledge into the model to say, pull out the vendor address, compare it to this known list, and give me the best match. Think of it as sort of fuzzy matching. So we can bake in contextual awareness into this, into these models as well. I believe for our public pet insurance case, we did exactly that to help more accurately determine fields that were extracted from medical diagnoses. So recapping, thus far, we've seen highly structured documents. We've seen semi-structured documents. Again, for highly structured, we're just drawing boxes and saying, what type of data is it? For semi-structured documents, we're just throwing a document at it and saying, show me results. It's all pre-trained for you. Now, let's look at the most diverse one, free text, unstructured text. It could be anything. It could be somebody sending a tweet and you want to pull, sentiment out of it. Let me show you an example. So in this example, the context is contracts. We have these free text contracts and we want to be able to pull key terms out of them. We have a customer that was doing this so they could identify the specific terms of contracts and use that as a jumping off point to renegotiating them. So what we've done here, as I wait for the PDF to load, there we go. We can see the entire original document. We're pulling out a number of key named entities. What's the account number, the date, the customer. On the right, we can see the original document so a person can navigate through it. And we're also highlighting where the model found these features. We really want to make it easy for a human to say, not only did it pull out the data correctly, is it the right answer? Is it looking in the right spot? We always give as much context as possible. We're also giving, and this is actually a feature that's true of all of our AI features, we're also giving a model confidence score. How sure is it that it pulled out the item that you're looking for? And this can be another lever, dial, and switch within the context of the overall solution to say, what do I want to bring to the attention of the human? If the model is highly confident in everything, maybe I want that straight through processed. I want that to be a background process. If something is below a threshold, 30, 40, 50%, whatever your risk threshold is, maybe that I absolutely want a human to check on. So this is another data point that's available for you. So how did we get this? How did we start from free text document and start pulling out some of these things that could feasibly be anywhere in them? There's no structure at all. We have within the background here, I've chosen a simpler, smaller example. This is actually a news article from yesterday, just for recent context. What we can do is we have a baked in natural language understanding model. And to get data points out of it, all we need to do is ask it plain text, human readable questions. So here's an article on Kellogg splitting into companies. Again, an article from yesterday. Let's say I want to know what their headquarters is. I create a new field. I'm looking for what the headquarters is, and I ask it a plain text question. Where is the new corporate headquarters? I can ask variations on a question because language is diverse, as we know. Where is the new headquarters located? And I can sort of massage this depending on what kind of data I'm going to be ingesting. But if I look at it in the context of the article, I think this example is a really powerful one too, because if we look at the overall sentence, the headquarters will move from Battle Creek to Chicago. And it did find out that it did pull the correct answer. So it isn't strictly looking for give me a location. It's understanding, it's looking for the new location, the overall context of the sentence. And that's where a natural language understanding model is very powerful. It's also highly accessible to an end user. I am most certainly not a data scientist, but I know how to ask questions. So it makes it very easy for me to add on to make new ones. Like, let's say I want to add a new one. I'll do it very quickly. Who is the CEO? Something very simplistic. And we'll give it a moment to process. The CEO is a named entity in here as well. And we'll give that a moment to process it. It'll spit out the right answer. I'll also speak to another feature here, which I'll subsequently demonstrate. This feature is also multilingual supported, meaning I can ask it questions in one language. In this case, I've asked it questions in English. And if I send it text in another language, it will, and see here, it has found the CEO, Steve Killane. If I ask it questions in another language, it will automatically perform the translation and apply those same questions, which means this can be a centrally managed solution. Wherever you're located, you have one person asking questions, and if you're a multinational organization, you're getting text in lots of languages, you can centralize that. So here I've translated that same article into German. I know we have a lot of German speakers among our colleagues who have validated that it does do well. So here it's performing the underlying translation, it's applying the same questions, and it will pull out the appropriate answers. So while this finishes processing, 15-second recap. We've seen how fixed form, we're just drawing boxes. We've seen how for semi-structured documents, especially for invoices, we've just dropped a document in, and we've spoken a little about how that can be extended to any kind of semi-structured document. For unstructured text, we've seen how there is a pre-trained model, and all we need to do is ask it plain text questions and how it can apply to multiple languages. Now the question is, how do we bring it all together? Where is that power of the platform? How do we bring the pieces under one roof? To that end, I want to show just a couple of real examples of custom demos we've done. Obviously, I won't show any data, but within the context of HeroFlow, this is what an automation looks like in the background, where we can bring in data from one or many sources, send data out to one or many sources, be a true end-to-end solution that allows us to analyze the data through many strategies, to enrich it and clean it up, call out to other resources, post-process. We really are that end-to-end window. In this particular scenario, we actually have a sequence of AI models. We have one that I didn't even speak to today, classification. So a piece of text comes in, is the person happy or unhappy about this product? We have a natural language extraction model. To say, okay, let's pull out some of the key data points from it. If they're unhappy, let's try and classify a potential cause of why they were unhappy. Let's call out to an external service to figure out where they were located. So we've spoken a bit about, the different features. This is really about, think about them as like Legos. You've got the different features and functions, and then to get the most powerful value and the most quick value for this, you can stack them together in any configuration that is most applicable to you. So here, this is one use case for analyzing customer sentiment and pulling information out of that. Another use case, another contract-centric use case, where we've used multiple AI models in these really complex contracts. We've used a semi-structured model to find data that was in lists. We've used a dedicated model for table identification. We use the natural language understanding model to ask questions of the free text. And this is really all about bringing everything together. And the last thing I'd like to speak to just very quickly, as a bit of a differentiator from traditional RPA, is our integration capabilities. A common question I get is, it's great that you've got all these features. It's incredible that we can move from sort of development and testing into a production context. This is live and usable, but how do I integrate it into my world, into my ecosystem? And to that end, we have a very, very versatile array of connections. Basically, we connect to items in the back end. As long as there's an API, we can speak to it. So databases, CRMs. I mean, the way to do it, I'll just show a quick view of the list. This is an ever-growing list of systems that we can talk to. We don't need to be a very heavy integration into your ecosystem. We can make it very, very simple to talk to all of your various systems. And to that end, I think with that, I'll cut it off there before I get overly technical. I just want to sort of give an overview of the different features and functions, how they can be configured very easily with our pre-configured setups, how they can be stacked together in different combinations, regardless of the complexity of your documents, and then how we can bring all of that into your environment and make it productionalized very quickly. With that, I will hand it back to Mark.
Fantastic, Nico. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, I'm just going to talk about one other aspect in terms of accelerating time to value. So just bear with me whilst I go back to my deck. It's just one slide here, but it's as well as customer success is one of our core values, as well as partner success. And, that doesn't just manifest itself in terms of the platform and the capabilities that come out, but also in the processes that we develop in terms of our go-to-market as well. What do I mean by that? Well, we've put together a proven process called Path to Success, which is how we collaborate with you to get to outcomes faster. And I say proven because we've seen customers that when they do internal reference videos about what they've delivered back to their company, they've actually cited this process as one of the things that help them get there faster. So it's something that I encourage you when you reach out to your sales directors or your partner managers to understand a little bit more about how we can collaborate to get those outcomes faster. It enables us to diagnose your needs much more efficiently. It allows us to work together to align various stakeholders to make sure that we're working to a common goal, where we're utilizing the resources effectively and secure the adoption as well when we do go into production itself. And really the goals here are making sure that we are optimizing the solution that we provide for you. We make you an informed decision maker. And we're going to make as most effective use of your time going through this process and ultimately make sure we deliver that outcome. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight the process element as well. And with that, Nick, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nico. Very, very informative presentation. Mark, if you just advance the slide one more, we'll have our contact information on here for everybody to get in touch. If you have our website on there, as well as if you're working with a member of our team, obviously you can reach out to them. We do have a couple of questions that have come in. The first question is, what are the different languages supported in document extraction? And Nico, you showed the translation ability, but what if an invoice comes, is in a different language? Are there those pre-trained line items or field values that exist in different languages?
Sorry, I'm just calling up a reference screen so I make sure I articulate it clearly. The different AI features have different multi-language capabilities. The extraction one that we saw, I believe it's 100, 150. So it'd be more of a question of exactly which language you're looking for. Some of the other features, so classification, I think it's around about 20 languages for that one. For the semi-structured, I think right now, as a default, it's English and German. That being said, I know they're extending it also. With the example I used earlier, it can be, sort of language agnostic. I had to use our features to train a custom model, so it was a little bit of step up effort on there, but it was completely extensible, and again, done by a non-data scientist within the platform. So those are additional features that could be shown on a subsequent demo. But I guess the question would be, which feature are you interested in, and which language or languages, and then we can more refinedly answer that question. And to whomever asked that question, if you want to
follow up in the question and answer, or get in touch with us after. We can talk about your exact feature that you're looking for, as well as the language that you're looking for. So the next question is about field validation. So what kind of field validation exists within the platform?
Oh, okay, so field validation. So within human in the loop, I presume is the appropriate context.
Let's say yes, and then if the question asker has any other information they want to give us, they can go ahead and add that now.
No, fair enough. I mean, there are some limited capabilities within the human in the loop to require it to fit, to conform to certain to the content of a field to conform to certain criteria. That said, I think we have significantly more capabilities if you look at it in the broader context of the automation. So the last thing I showed was, the bringing it all together. Sort of the step-by-step of how I brought all the individual pieces together. To me, the validation would fit well into sort of pre and post processing. So documents will come in, we'll perform the AI extraction, we'll do some post-processing validation to make sure that if we pulled out a phone number, that it consists of a certain format, or we can strep anything that's not a number and present that to the user. Likewise, as a subsequent step, so we've sent it to a human, they've made their changes, they've submitted it. Now, as we pick up that data and reprocess it to wherever we want to end it, we can do validation on that again and say, did a human, put an alphabet character into a phone number or a TIN or a social security number that's inappropriate? And then becomes business logic of what do we do with that? Do we ship that back to the human? Do we send a notification? Do we outright reject it? Do we try and clean it up ourselves? There are many ways we can do that. So I think the most rounded answer is that it's versatile and flexible depending on what kind of validation and what you want the business logic to be. How do you want it particularly handled?
Great, thank you. Another question here, and if anybody else has any, please feel free to type them in. But this next one is, what if the integration is not on the list that you showed? And I guess for context, there's a list there of existing integrations, those connections that could be utilized today, right? Whenever you go to set it up, those are available to connect with your instance of those platforms. What if it's not on the list?
And fair and common question. It's a common occurrence where we have a number of named entities for things that we've interacted with most commonly, but I always get the question of, can you interact with system, insert name here? And sometimes it's a homegrown system. We've definitely worked with customers who've done that. Sometimes it's just one we haven't worked with before. The general rule of thumb is, as long as there is some form of API, we do have generic connectors in there, things like REST and Swagger. So as long as whatever system you want us to talk to has some sort of exposed API that we can speak to, I have yet to encounter a situation where we have been unable to speak to a system. In some cases, we've even developed a net new connector to get to that. But given where we sit right now with the named ones and with the generic ones that we have, we've found that it's been highly flexible, and it has yet to be an impediment to speak to a particular system.
Great, thank you, Nico. I'll just give another 30 seconds or less for anybody who has with any lingering questions. I said we want this to be the beginning of the conversation. Actually, we do have another question. So what happens to the digital documents after recognition and categorization, after that process takes place?
The question is, what do you want to happen to them? So we are not inherently a system of record. If things are, we don't even retain data, it's only optional. So only if the human in the loop is included, we retain that data temporarily. Incidentally, for security purposes, we are SOC 2 compliant. So what happens to the document? I would reflect that question back and say, where do you want the document to go? Do you have a document retention system or CRM that we can send it to? Do you want us to spin up a database within our offering and retain that and give you exclusive access to that? Do you want the documents to never touch our system again? We pull data out, we've sent a notification, we've updated CRM, and we never need to touch it again. Again, highly flexible with relation to the business needs.
Great. And the idea is that it's highly actionable. And you can send it through those connections. Those can send it back into the platforms that you're connected to, that we've integrated with. Is that correct?
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, this is a conversation I'm having with one of our customers actively, where we're doing the invoice extraction effectively. And right now we're just helping populate their system of record. And they've come to us saying, well, can you help us get these documents into a document retention system? And we said, yeah, sure, absolutely. We haven't done it because it wasn't part of the original scope, but yeah, that's not a problem. We have them, and we have versatility with the systems we speak to. So that's a live use case right there.
Wonderful. And I just want to say, if anybody, we do have another question. If anybody needs to drop, we will send out the recording of this. Thank you to those who joined. If you need to go, we understand. But we'll keep answering questions as long as they keep coming in. So this one is, I understand Automation Hero is a cloud-based solution. Do you ever do any on-prem support or support on-prem installation for customers that might not be comfortable with a cloud instance?
I'm happy to defer that to Mark. I will say that we are cloud-based, and that is our preference. It has been done in the past, but as to doing that currently, I'll defer that to Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much SaaS focused. We found that we could develop our roadmap a lot faster as a result of doing that. And really, some of the outcomes that we've been able to tap in as a result of that decision, because of the way that our roadmap is developed so quickly, has justified that decision. Maybe in the long-term future, that might be something that's looked at again. Never say never, as they say, but yeah, we made the decision probably about middle of last year to focus on SaaS exclusively.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
I don't know if Nico, do you want to talk about private cloud at all, or what's coming down the road on that? Just open up that part.
Sure. I mean, from a standpoint of, and again, we'll speak from the standpoint of security. Our cloud instances are all single tenant, and you have full control over them. You need not provide us access if need be. So there isn't a concern about data sharing from that regard. So right now we're native on AWS. Extending that also to Azure and potentially GCP. So there's a lot of flexibility with where and how we deploy. And there's if there are ever any security concerns in that regard, we're happy to answer those questions. We've taken great strides to try and make sure our customers' data is always, even with us not being a system of record and just transitory, to make sure everything is as secured as possible and GDPR compliant. Did I hit that, or did I miss any talking points, Mark?
No, thank you, Nico. I think that was very informative. So I don't see any other questions coming in. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining. Any of our customers who are on here, partners, we really appreciate you joining. Anybody else who's looking to learn more, I said if you've already started working with a member of our sales team, you can reach out to them with any follow-up questions. For anybody else who hasn't been in contact with us yet, you can email hi@automationhero.ai. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll get you connected to the right person. Visit our website, check us out, and we will be sending this recording out by email in the next 24 hours. Thank you again to Mark, to Nico for the wonderfully informative and engaging presentation. I wish everyone a great rest of their Wednesday and a great rest of your week, and we'll see you at the next one. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.